Hey everybody, this is Melina from ScrapbookingwithME.com and Me Crafty Scrapper here on YouTube and Instagram. I'm going to be sharing an art journaling process with you today, and I'm giving a very big shout out to Jesson Art here on YouTube. She has some of the prettiest art journaling layouts. I will tell you more about that in just a moment. Here I am showing you that these little sheets of paper are 4 inches wide by 8 inches long, and they are going to be going in that Traveler's notebook you just saw me put aside. I'm rounding the corners, and then I'm going to be setting up some inks so that I can get a little bit of a watercolor effect going here. Here is my nonstick mat, and I'm going to be using the antique linen and the salty ocean oxide inks. I'm going to wipe off my nonstick mat here, and then just going to press in the antique linen, just a few little presses there, and then the salty ocean beside it. And then I'll also pick up my vintage photo oxide pad and put that on the other side of the salty ocean blue color. So I've got a like a, I don't know, a medium brown color, which is the vintage photo, the blue salty ocean, and then the pale, like a beigey tan color of the antique linen. And I put my water bottle to it, just spritzed it to activate the oxide ink, and then laid my paper over on it. Then I'm trying to figure out, oh, do I want to lay it down again? Do I want to spray some more water? Do I want to get the other paper? It was a dilemma there for just a moment because I wanted to figure out what I needed to do. So I decided to get the other sheet and lay it down into the inks that I had activated there on my nonstick mat. Here I'm kind of shaking that around trying to see if it'll run. It's not doing a lot of running, so I'm going to help it out by adding some more little dots and pieces, bits over onto the other side of that page, since it's kind of one-sided. This page here ends up being my most favorite, even though I really liked how that other one that's laying down came out first. But I get so many different colors on this one, and then of course when the blue and the brown mixed, we get this green shade. And as you'll notice, I did not put any green down on my nonstick mat, but I got some green anyways, didn't I? And I love it. I love green anyway, so that's fine. So then I go in and I just keep dabbing and keep dabbing until I get a color combination that I like. That ink is kind of running a little bit, so I'm trying to help it out and let it run to the middle there, and just trying to get it where I'm very satisfied with it, and I'm almost to that point. I want to leave a little bit of white space on these. That is cardstock that I cut and I'm dipping now. It's 110 pound, I think, cardstock. So it's not super thick, but it's not thin either. So there, I think, oh yeah, okay, so that's a good color combination. I think I'm good with that one. I'll dip this one a couple of more times, and then I think I will be satisfied. On that one that's in my right hand, I do get a little more variation in color here in a bit because it's rather green, but I get a little bit more color into that one in just a moment. I'm going to clean up my mess here a little bit before I start doing anything else. get out my heat gun and try to help the drying process out a little bit. And then I get out my white gesso and my little spatula and decide that I'm going to fill in a few of the spots just so that I can get a little bit of extra journaling space, because I'm not going to like covering up all of the color with journaling. I'm not going to do full page journaling on both of the sheets, but I do want to kind of mute some of the color in just a few little spaces. And I'm using that power of 3 by making 3 little spots with the gesso on each page. And, there I will get the white space that I need to do some more journaling on. Now, the white gesso does turn a little bit of a tan beigey color, just because it is up against ink and that ink has not dried fully. So it's going to blend in a little bit. So it's not going to be stark white, and I'm good with that. I'm, vintage anyway. So if I don't get stark white, I'm good. Um, Anyway, the channel I am shouting out today, you've got to go check her out, Jesson Art. I will leave her link in the description box below. She does some of the most calming videos I've ever watched in my life. I'm speeding this up just a little bit because, it's like watching paint dry. I'm sorry. I'm just spreading out some gesso, y'all. But she does. She has some of the most calming videos ever. So I want you to go watch those. Subscribe to her channel. This video is inspired by some of her stuff. I wish I could art journal as good as she does. But I'm just telling you, awesome, awesome channel. So I decided it is the first of the month. Let's give a creator shout out, and that is who I am honoring this month is Jesson Art. I got out a little script stamp, and I'm just adding it kind of willy-nilly on the pages, kind of stamping off on the edges, and just adding a little bit of character to the pages so they don't look too plain, which of course once you add watercolor and gesso, how plain is it? It's not plain at all. But I'm going to add some interest with some script stamp. Now, we did have these stamps in the shop. They sold out in less than 5 hours. We have another order in for a whole lot more of each one of them. There was a butterfly stamp, there was this script, and I think it's some postage on there too. There was an old like receipt stamp set. There was a lines and borders stamp set, and it seems like a Paris postage stamp set. It seems like there was one other, but anyway, they sold out in less than 5 hours, and it was crazy. We haven't really sold a lot of stamp sets on scrapbookingwithme.com. Of course, the Tim Holtz one always goes really well that we keep on there, but other than that, we haven't sold a lot of stamp sets, but those really went very fast. Also, these tickets, Years Corridor tickets, they came from an overseas supplier and they were out for a little bit. We have got them ordered again, and they should be in the next week or two from the date of this video posting. I got out my Collage Podge. If you have Mod Podge, same thing. And this is the matte Collage Podge, and I'm just kind of spreading it under and over that ticket there, and then I will scrape off the excess, use a rag to go over the top of it to kind of get off any of that excess Collage Podge that I used. And then on this rag, I have one of those rags that it's a dish rag, has the mesh backing to it, and just by pure accident, when I was wiping off that ticket, I saw that it gave this really cute little effect. So I'm going over all this gesso and I'm just kind of dabbing it and then going in where there's not gesso and it leaves little speckles. I just loved how it looks. So, I'm going with it. I am using or trying to stay under 5 items or less to make this layout. So, you always have to have paper and you always have to have some kind of glue. So I'm using the Collage Page and the paper as freebies. But so I'm using gesso, stamps, inks, die cuts, and what was my other thing? Anyways, I'm staying under 5 items. So you don't have to have stencils to art journal. You don't have to, you don't even have to stamp to art journal. I just like the look of stamping. But here is a die cut that I got out of the, I think it's Layered Botanicals from Tim Holtz. They have a very glossy look to them, and I just put some Collage Page under it and over it. And then I decided, oh, book page. That was my 5th item. Book page. And I just tore it in like a little circle, messy circle. And I'm putting that under the little wing of the butterfly. And that's going to hang off just a little bit, just like the butterfly wing is going to hang off. And I'm going to seal that on with a little dot more of Collage Page. And I will also add some more book page to the other page and do like a power of 3 kind of thing. I just love how the little just messy circles of book page look on this layout. It just really set it off to me. So here I go with the book page again, adding it to the other page. Now, if you are not an art journaler, but you like watching calming videos, art journaling is really for you. Even if you don't art journal yourself, I love sitting and watching art journaling videos. They're just so calming to me. I love the process. I love all the different outcomes. I am almost to the end of this Traveler's Notebook insert that I'm using on all of my art journaling videos here lately. And the book that I'll be adding these 2 pages into. It's a regular standard size Traveler's Notebook insert, and I'm almost to the end of it. It's a craft cardstock insert. So all the pages are craft cardstock. So, you can journal right on them, you can decorate right on them, or you can decorate separately and then use the craft cardstock that's in that insert as like a mat. So that's what I'm doing here. So that's why the 2 pages here that I'm working on are 4 inches by 8 inches, and then I went ahead and rounded the corners because this insert has rounded corners on the pages. And then you'll see when I add these back into the insert, the craft pages that's in the insert will act as a mat and goes right along with that vintage photo ink that's on there that I used. So looks very good in my opinion, and this is probably the as far as the end result of this is probably one of my favorite art journaling processes, layouts that I've ever done in this little insert. So after I add the other 2 bits of book page, then I use my heat gun again to speed up the process of drying. I get out my vintage photo oxide spritz, good grief, I can't talk, spritz. I'm a valley girl now. I get out the spritz that's vintage photo oxide and dab just a little bit on there. I use the heat gun, but I go ahead and just let this dry because there is a couple of bigger spots of the ink that need a little bit more time to air dry. So then I get the Vintage Photo Oxide pad and I ink around the edges, being sure and careful not to touch the wet splatters of ink that came from that spritz bottle. I love the look of Vintage Photo Oxide on the edges. I even do a little bit of dirtying up, as I call it, and add a little bit more of that brown to a couple of the edges. And then I will ink the edges of this other page also. I've got them set up how I want them in my Traveler's notebook. And now it is just a waiting game as far as letting all of this dry. Now, when I finish inking the edges, I will set this down. I'll go finish supper and do all the cooking and eat with my family and all of that, and then I come back and I finish up these pages after they have dried. I'm just kind of because using that heat gun kind of makes them a little wonky, so I was just trying to straighten them up a little bit. And there is that insert, Traveler's Notebook insert, and that is how I will be adding them into the book once they are dry. Now I am going to be using some score tape. I think this is the 5/8 inch score tape that I'm using here. It's a little thicker. I like that just because when I'm adding quite a few strips, I don't have to add as many. I can cover a whole lot more acreage with a wider score tape. I am speeding this up because most everybody knows what score tape is, and most everybody knows how to add score tape and take the backing off. I am adding just a little bit of liquid glue that's barely Arts that's in my Sugar Bell bottle there around the little edges that might not have gotten a lot of score tape on them, and then I will do the same thing for the other side, just adding score tape top and bottom, and then along each of the edges and a couple of strips down the middle. Then I take off the backing and then add my liquid glue to the naked spots that didn't have any score tape added to them, and that just gives me a little extra protection as far as keeping the pages on there and the edges not coming up. I just get that one as even as possible with the other one, and then make sure that everything looks straight and even. Get off all the excess glue, and then I start my journaling, and this is with a Sharpie fine tip. It is the solid black barrel Sharpie fine tip. There is a difference with Sharpie markers, so this one is my favorite of all time as far as journaling pens. The Sharpie all black barrel fine tip pen, and I am writing a little bit about how a day is not well spent unless there's a little creative sparkle mixed in or something like that, and kind of hand letter the sparkle word, and then I come down a little bit and I'm just doing that power of 3 again, the magic 3 layout, doing a little segment in the middle, and then I'll do a little segment at the bottom, and then on the other page I will do 3 segments also, and just kind of get that all leveled out, balanced out on both sides. I put the rag down because that one blotch of ink at the bottom that I splattered was still a little wet, and I had blotted it and it still was a little wet, so I just put the rag down so I wouldn't be getting it all over the place and I wouldn't smear it too much while I was writing. And I will give you close-ups at the end so that you can see all of this journaling. I really like how this came out. When I get done here, this is the second little segment. Here's the third segment, and then I sign with an M and date it at the bottom. I will go back and I will go over all of my letters again just to darken them up so they'll be as dark as the left page. So I really love how this art journal entry turned out. I will show you a moving up close, and then I'll show you some still shots at the end. And be sure to go over and check out the creator shout out today, which is Jesson Art. I love her channel, and you will too. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Y'all have a blessed day. I will see you in the next video. And there you go. There is all of it. I went really slow and good with that. Yay, I love that. I did good, y'all. God bless. Bye, y'all.